Japanese is an awesome language. A lot of people get intimidated, but it's really not that bad. I think the thing that kind of throws people off is the kanji, the writing system with the Chinese characters. And that part's kind of hard, but what people don't realize is it's not like Chinese where it's all these like symbolic characters and that's all they have. There's also a couple phonetic alphabets that they use for different things. There's Hiragana and Katakana. Hiragana is used for native Japanese words and sounds. So they use that for most of their words, and it's a completely phonetic alphabet. Super, super easy to pick up. Because in Japanese, there's only 5 vowel sounds. There's the Latin vowels, a, I, U, E, O, and that's it. And then everything else is a consonant followed by a vowel, or it's just a vowel by itself, or there's one character, n, which is the only consonant that stands by itself. And so it makes it super easy, like a, I, U, E, O, kaki, kuke, ko, sashi, suseso, like just really easy. And then katakana is used for foreign words. Like Japanese borrows a ton of different words from English and lots of other languages. And it's really fun because sometimes they'll have really interesting takes on the English language. Like some of the words are exactly the same, like pen is pen in Japanese. Other ones are just, most of the other words are just, they're the same English word, but with a Japanese pronunciation. So like the word pink, you'd say pink. And so you're just like saying the English word with Japanese sounds. Some of them get kind of out there though, like McDonald's is like, they'll either shorten it and make it really small like maku, or they'll say something really big, long, and nasty like makudonarudo. And it's just like really hard to say. But yeah, and then they have some weird takes on different words where they think it means something, but it really doesn't. But no, it's super, super fun. In Japanese, they have a different sentence order. You know, usually ours is subject, verb, object. With Japanese, it's subject, object, verb, which means, in essence, that if you were to take a sentence, you would say the first part of it the same way you would say in English, this is the subject, and then you would say the rest of the sentence backwards. And so I think that one's the biggest kind of struggle to get over. But once you get used to it, it's really not that bad. It makes interpreting or, translating kind of, hard because you have to wait for the verb at the very end of the sentence before you can really start translating. But it's fun.
I love languages, and I feel like I have a natural, I can't think of the word. Yeah. Natural aptitude for learning languages. So I was really excited to learn Japanese. I didn't know anything about it except for that one song that my aunt taught us in primary. And I remember before leaving, there was a man in my ward and he got me this little like Japanese in a hurry book, and I kind of looked at it and tried to like figure some stuff out. But I didn't really learn anything until I got into the MTC. And so Japanese is, well, first of all, it has 3 different writing systems. One is called Hiragana, one is called Katakana, and one is called Kanji. And Kanji is the Chinese characters. And I think that in daily use, most Japanese people, like the ones that they use in like newspapers and stuff, the ones that you're like expected to know, I think there's about 2,000 of them. And then that could be wrong, so if it's wrong, like don't quote me, but that's what I'm remembering. And then beyond that, there's like so many more that you can learn, but those are the ones that like they teach in grade school, I think, or something. And then Katakana is a system, like it's a syllable-based system. It's like ka, ki, ku, ke, ko. And it's used for foreign words that they've adopted. So like in Japan, instead of, like they don't have a word that means Merry Christmas, they say Merry Christmas. So they use that English word, and if they were to write it, they would write it in katakana. And then there's Hiragana, and that is a similar system. It's also based on syllables like kaki, kukeko, but it's used for Japanese words, and they use it in combination with the kanji to write. So in the MTC, we learned hiragana and katakana because they're simpler. There's like, I don't know how many of each. And then we didn't really focus on kanji because there's a lot of them, and what we wanted to focus on more was listening and speaking, because that's what we were going to be doing every day with the people. And so things about Japanese, it's the grammar pattern for Japanese is subject, object, verb, whereas in English it's subject, verb, object. So in English we would say, I go to the store. Subject, verb, object, or preposition phrase, whatever. In Japanese they say, I to the store go. And so the verb is always at the end of the phrase, which is really hard to change the way you think. And if you try to think in English and translate into Japanese, you can't do it fast enough to communicate with anyone. And so what I tried to do in the MTC, I guess, and on my mission when I got there, is instead of trying to compare Japanese to English, I tried to compare Japanese to ideas and to objects and the representation of that thing. Like in English, when I say tree, I have an image in my mind of like a few or two, not two, I guess maybe five. You draw like the trunk and then the fluffy, like that's like the image of tree. So when I was learning Japanese, instead of saying ki is the word for tree. So instead of saying ki means tree, I would go ki means that image. And that, I think, helped me a lot in learning the language in a way that I could communicate quickly with people. So I think that is a, good thing to do, I guess. Something that's hard in Japanese is particles. So in English, and I can talk about this for a long time because it's language and I love it, but it doesn't really matter. In English, we don't really have anything that's equivalent, but the closest I think I could get is the word I and me. Like they both mean the same thing, but we use them in different places. I you use as a subject, whereas me you use as an object. And in Japanese, instead of having two different words, they say I wa and I wo. So like if the word was I in English, that's what we would do. But the word for I in Japanese is watashi. So watashi wa, the wa makes it mean I, whereas watashi wo, the o makes it mean me. And they do that with every word. So you can change the order of things in a sentence, but because it has that marker, you still know what they're saying. And that is something that's hard to get used to. Like, I don't know, another thing that's different about Japanese is they don't often say the subject of the sentence. So instead of saying, I want this, they'll just say, want this. And it's assumed that you're talking about yourself. And they don't ever say you, because that's not very polite. Like the word anata means you, but they don't often use it because it's impolite. And so instead, like, you'll speak in third person about the person that you're talking to. So I'd be like, Rebecca-san wa dou omoimasu ka? Instead of saying, anata wa. Like, I would say, what does Rebecca think? Instead of saying, what do you think? and it's just different to get used to. Yeah, I don't know, but I love the Japanese language, and I really love the meaning that kanji, the Chinese characters, adds. Because if you know the phrase, a picture is worth 1,000 words, then if you apply that to kanji, like, it is a picture that represents a word, and that picture brings so much more to the word. So something that I love is the kanji for love, ai, is made up of the kanji for heart and the kanji to receive. And so love means like receiving heart. Receiving your heart, receiving someone else's heart means love. And I just love the depth that that adds. And there's the same thing goes for like you means to say. And the kanji for that is originally made up of the kanji for heart and mouth. So to say something means to put your heart through your mouth. Like to express your heart through your mouth. And it's just like so cool. Once you get into studying kanji, it's so much, there's so much there to add to the language, and it's just really edifying.
This is kind of one thing that I still use, and I use in my mission, is just note cards. One side is a word, and the back side is the definition in English. So I would just go through these and memorize them all the time, and I still try to. I just don't have as much time now, but it really helped. The way I would get these words though is I would hear people talk, and if I didn't understand a word, I'd pull up my planner and just write it down. And that really worked because, I mean, there's a lot of times where words will come out and you may think you know the definition or you may not, and so if you're unsure, just write it down. Other thing, always pray in Japanese. Make a friend, like a really good friend, like someone that you can talk to about anything, like whether it's a member, an investigator, or just a kid that you see a lot. Like, I don't know, just someone that is willing to speak to you in Japanese no matter how much you botch it, because they will talk back and you'll learn from that, and they'll kind of help you learn a lot. So basically every area I had a friend, and I feel like it helped me like so much, like with learning the language. Praying for the gift of tongues, that's like the number one thing. Like, you can't do anything without the gift of tongues. Like, I mean, it's not gonna say that you're gonna speak perfect Japanese. It's gonna, basically the gift of tongues is gonna enable you to communicate with them through the Spirit, you know? And you need that, because I mean, speaking good Japanese is great and all, but like speaking through or teaching through the Spirit and with the Spirit is the most important thing. So that's like number one. But you know, obviously not everyone's gonna be satisfied with that. You need to like learn the language too. I mean, you have to do your part in order to get the blessings of the gift of tongues. Like thinking in Japanese all the time. Like when you know, if you're not talking to your companion, like, I mean, you're not always going to want to speak Japanese to your companion if he's a foreigner. But if they're Japanese, like work out a system where you can speak Japanese to him, or all Japanese, whichever he's comfortable with. But if you're with another foreigner, always think in Japanese. Like, try your best to just do it, because it helps it become more like second nature. Just like, you know, what's this in Japanese? How do I say this in Japanese? Just boom, boom, boom. So it's like, those things probably is what I would say.